Good morning. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Time for the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Book Tour. I'm your host, Maddie Margarita, here with Diana Pardee on tech. Every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., the Southern California Writers Association turns our Facebook page over to a new writer to talk about their work, their writing, and their books. This morning, we are pleased to welcome Jim Takos. I'm going to go ahead and read your bio because I just get such a kick out of everything that you've done, Jim. I'm trying not to embarrass you. Badly burned at 2 by a miracle, Jungle Jim survived. At the age of 3, he contracted polio and was paralyzed on his left side until age 5 when, due to family efforts, he beat it. Jim spent his 21st birthday at McMurdo Station, Antarctica, where he helped test a very early version of GPS. He entered the U.S. Air Force in June 1971, where he earned Navigator rating in 1972 and an additional qual as an electronic warfare officer in 1973. Assigned to AC-130 Specter gunships in Thailand, Combat Talons in Okinawa, and Compass Call electronic combat aircraft in Arizona. Jim's staff assignments included instructor, USAF, that is U.S. Air Force, Electronic Warfare School in Panama, Unconventional Warfare Plans Officer for the Air Force in Latin America, south of Mexico, and a tactics officer for the 28th Air Division. He also flew in Operation Just Cause in Panama, and took part in Operation Desert Shield. After totally exhausted, and I added that part, and retiring from the Air Force, he attended law school and became a member of the Oklahoma Bar. After passing the administrative law judge exam in 2006, Jim was offered and accepted as an ALJ position. What is that? What is ALJ?
Administrative law judge.
Yeah, you know, in the military, those acronyms just stick with you, Jim. Position at the Office of Medicare Hearings. Okay. His short fiction can be found in the California Writers Circle anthology Masquerade and the California Writers Circle's anthology Sleuth. Done. So, wow. You have had quite an experienced life, Jim. I'm surprised you don't write nonfiction and write memoir.
I have a few short stories, one called Pink Docks and Alligators, about the time I had to shoot an alligator in Florida when I was 12. And I have another one called A Penguin for Christmas, about my time in at McMurdo in Antarctica. So one of those things. So I do have some of that as well, but that's not readily available unless you ask me for it.
So I have to ask you, after your time in Antarctica, are you like a cold person or a hot person? Are you always cold or are you always hot now?
Well, I guess I'm sort of bipolar, so, you know.
You could pay me for that setup, okay?
I should, Maddie.
You should. We'll have to do that every time. That's hilarious.
My TAC call sign was Jungle Jim because of the time in Thailand and Central America, and not to mention a little while in the desert. So I'm used more to the warmer climates.
But you know, you obviously have like a high demand, high need for adrenaline. So that doesn't go away, I don't think. So how does your writing satisfy that, or does it?
Essentially, what I get to do is, like most authors, and particularly the reason I'm more into fiction than the truth, is I can make the world the way I want it and the rules the way I want them, and then can break them with impunity because I'm the decider on what the rules are. I just have to have it fully worked out before we issue the book.
So you mentioned the magic word this morning, which is book. So you happen to have it with you? There it is. Tales of the Lost Colonies. Okay, so Jim, you write under a pen name, right? Which is Gunnar T. Taku.
Right. Taku is actually my family name. That's what my grandfather had when he came from Greece. And then when he went through Ellis Island, either he changed it or the government changed it. I do not know the story there to Takos. So
interesting. Okay, so what was the genesis of the book, of the idea of, let me give the full title, which is Tales of the Lost Colonies, The Adventures of Sir James and the Silk Stocking Rangers. Okay, so now tell us a little bit about that.
it in this world, we have a civilization, and I'm a firm believer that it's very, very thin veneer on us. Things like Katrina and some other events have proven that. So I took the idea a step further. What happens if in, say, 1,000 years, a group of colonial ships headed towards a known destination don't make it? They have a problem, and they literally are lucky enough to make it to a world they can live on. And as their technology starts dropping away because they don't have the backbone to keep it going, they change. What would happen? How would the world change? And I believe personally that it would go back towards several of the nasty situations that mankind has always had with them, as far as I can tell, and that they would develop that. In the book, they know of other planets, but they don't know that they're not from their home world. They are on this planet here, on the planet here, which I haven't even named in the book, actually. And they are the tales of them being the descendants of star sailors, and they know of it, and they have bits and pieces of things lying around, long duration equipment that was designed to literally last 1,000 or more years. But they don't understand it. They don't have radios. They don't have electric lights. They have candles and some gas lights. But that's the basis of the story. And I'm not sure where I'm going with this right now.
Well, no, that's no. So it's sci-fi, right?
It is sci-fi. The best description of the book is The Adventures of Robin Hood meets Star Trek is the way to do it. And they've been on the planet, humans have been on this planet for 1,000 years. After about 300 years, they've forgotten most of the information that they brought from Earth as the pieces of equipment and instructions either stop working or disintegrate or anything like that, and they form their own society. And I set it up so they form actually what is a feudal society with some nice differences to it, not quite as bad as it really was.
So is Sir James your protagonist?
Sir James is my protagonist. He is the squire of the Shire of the Coast.
Now that's a T-shirt right there. I'd like to see that T-shirt. So where did he come from? And when you were writing him, what qualities did you want to imbue in him and make him relatable? How did you make him relatable?
I basically made him what would have been a Middle Ages James Bond. He actually works as an agent for the king of Lucinia, the country that the Shire of the Coast is part of, and is his primary go-to man for what we used to call in special operations dirty deeds, going out and doing the necessity work, stealing the enemy's secrets, learning what they're thinking and trying to do to your country.
Black Ops. I like it.
Well, yeah, covert, black, completely disavowed operation.
Mission Impossible stuff.
Yeah, very similar without the technology.
Without all the fun toys.
Yeah.
So when you were writing him, that's what he does. But as a character and as a person, what are some of the qualities that you like about him? And did you give him any qualities that you don't particularly?
Well, let's start with what I didn't like. He's a bit too self-assured. He's always been able to figure things out and very successfully accomplish missions. So he's a tad cocky at times and is willing to take on stuff when he maybe shouldn't. And he tries to move onward. And his good qualities is he's actually basic and extremely honest person. He deals fairly with everybody, and he attempts to treat all folks the same to the best of his ability. There's the inevitable human failure of being able to treat everyone exactly the same simply because we're just not that way. We're not that good. So
Human. Right.
Bing. That's it. And
So,
he's go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so I was going to move on a little bit from there and talk a little bit about your short stories, because this book seems out of character and totally different from Mittens and what was the other one? 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Mittens is in Masquerade.
Oh, I love that cover.
Oh, yeah. And this is a real mask. It's in a shop in Venice, which incidentally also has a couple of copies of the book in the shop.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So it's there. Yeah, Mittens is about a cat that becomes a vampire.
Well, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Doesn't that always happen? And
Yes.
one of the beta readers of the story thought I was a very evil person because she loved cats.
Well, you've got to be careful with cats and dogs, but I know you're right on the edge. So that's writing character. And then how about 90 minutes?
90 minutes is in Sleuth. And 90 minutes is the ghost of Maid Marian of Robin Hood fame solves a murder in Nottingham, Pennsylvania, which is a real place, and comes around and does good, and the good guys win and the bad guys lose, including the evil Prince John.
Well, we love that. So your short stories, so Masquerade and Sleuth are both anthologies that include your short stories, right?
Right.
And those you can find under Jim Takos, correct?
Yes, those are published
on
under
Amazon. So if you're looking for just like short fiction to read, if you don't have time to sit down and read a whole book, those are great options.
Right, and the stories in both books are excellent. A couple other of SCWA members have submissions in both books, so it's available there.
So that means it must be great. And then, so
of course,
and Tales of the Lost Colonies will be available in the next couple of days. But
it's actually out now, but there's a problem with the listing, and I'm working on it with Amazon. It's a little hard to find.
So, but if you are looking for that in a couple of days, don't look today or tomorrow.
Yep.
That is written under Gunner T. Taku, correct?
Right. Correct.
All right. So that's great. And are you working on something now?
I am working on a murder mystery. It's called a cold case file. And we start off with the discovery of a body in, of all places, McMurdo Station, Antarctica. Imagine that. And it comes back 33 years later. A private detective, Nicholas Plato, gets involved with this because he was in the FBI, and when the Navy quit working in Antarctica as being the operating authority. NCIS or NIS actually switched passed the cases over to the FBI, and Nick was the receiving authority on it. And he's tied up in figuring out how this guy died, particularly since he was murdered in Da Nang, Vietnam during Tet. So in 68 and not discovered till 69. So.
Okay, well, hopefully you'll come back and talk to us about that when that's done.
We're into like the third draft of that one. So it's going to be a little while longer.
Okay, so and let's finish off our interview on something important. So is a body well preserved if it's frozen? Like flash frozen or not?
If the person had been murdered in Antarctica, yes, it would have been flash frozen and preserved. They do find, in fact, with the recent ice melting, they're finding the millions of bodies of deceased penguins, which is rather odious there now. So a human body would be the same way, but this body was murdered on the docks in Da Nang in 68, and then put into a crate, in a body bag in a crate, and shipped via freighter to Antarctica. And that body is rather dried out and mummified practically.
Well, we'll look forward to the description of that when we read your book. Thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody's time who has joined us today. If you enjoyed this interview, because honestly, how could you have not? Please feel free to share this on Facebook, or you'll be able to find this interview on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, which is SCWA Writers Online. And you'll find our interview with James Takos, as well as over 100 other interviews. So until next week, please stay safe, keep reading, and we will see you soon.